So, who am I coming here from Sweden to talk about progressive taxation? Actually, Sweden has the highest marginal tax rate in the world. It's 60% today. So it's really hurting our economy. You can see that qualified labor actually takes vacation instead. They don't work. We have about 25% of the doctors are not working, they are taking vacation, is working full time and so on. So it's high-tech progressive taxation is really bad to the economy. But we had it worse. I will show you pictures on some slides about that. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been involved in 18 company starts, and today my wife and I have a holding company with 7 companies. And I also work actually with taxes as advisor and with this company. We have one web hosting company, one clean tech investment company, but perhaps most interesting in this area is that I'm a chairman of a Swedish political magazine, and with that hat I'm taking part of this free Market Roadshow. Taxes. You know, Colbert said that you should pick the goose and it should make as little noise as possible. And you could, of course, if you look at countries with really high progressive income tax, I don't really know if they really learned this lesson. But if you look at the real figures, how taxation is evolved, if you look to the figures of revenues of taxation in most developed countries, they probably learned something, because behind the thing that is making more and more importance is value-added tax. So sort of taxes that you don't see, like sort of stealth taxes and so, are actually have increasing importance in most developed countries. So in some way, I think, should doing a prediction, I think VAT will have an even higher importance for most countries' tax revenues in the future, and corporate income tax will have less importance. And I think the trend with flat tax will definitely go to more countries. That's sort of prediction. So what's happening now? I think we have a sort of tax war going on in both between the US and the European Union, but also the new tax proposals from the European Union. Most people agree that taxes should be paid where value is created. But the big question is, of course, where are values created? And that's the dispute today between politicians in many countries. The European Union has introduced this plan to have a digital sales tax. That's not a VAT, that's a sort of corporate income tax. Have you heard of that, anyone? Yeah, they should have like 3%. And actually, they take tax base from countries where IDs are formed and so on, and move it to countries where the products or the services are sold. And I think this is a really bad idea, because countries who perhaps have a better business climate or understand how important it is with entrepreneurship, with rule of law, with low regulation and so on, and have a climate for entrepreneurs to find out smart ideas, will lose on that, and it will get more power to countries who are just big consumers and don't perhaps work so much with their business climate. And I used to say that Monsieur Moscovici, the tax commissioner, I think he should think about French wine. For me, French wine has absolutely no value until I drink it. I think all the effort made of French farmers to cultivate their soil, to harvest, to choose grapes, to put this into cellars, all their effort. For me, it's worthless. It's just water and rotten fruit, actually, mixed in some way. When I drink it, then it's worth something. So value is created in my mouth at consumption. But that's actually what Monsieur Moscovici thinks when he talks about this kind of sales tax. If you talk about digital products, the ideas are formed where the smart people who find out the business models for Airbnb or Facebook, or if you do something like that here. This is the place where the value is created. And I think this trend to see that value is created at consumption is dangerous. And of course it's dangerous for French farmers, of course, because I do believe that French farmers do something good. And the value is created there. But this is an interesting trend if you look at taxes to look into. Another question about who earns a fourth of your labor. I think it's important to look into some of the international institutions, how they think about that, and I will warn you for some of them. This is was a report presented by the OECD some weeks ago about the wealth tax. And the ongoing trend in the OECD area is that fewer and fewer countries have a wealth tax. And the OECD states that 4 countries now have a wealth tax. That's the figure. That's actually wrong. And the OECD they confirms that they have on page 47. There is a little sign about this report was made before even France abolished the wealth tax, but we still take that into account. And they point out that more countries should introduce a wealth tax, even though that their member states the politicians have decided that the wealth tax actually harms economy. It harms investment and makes more investments more expensive, and thus fewer businesses will be made. Here is the IMF. They proposed some years ago that the countries should introduce a one-time tax grab to level out public debt. That is a solution from the IMF, that countries in debt during the mistakes they made and during the financial crisis and so on should be paid with a one-time tax grab. So who owns the fruit of your labor? The IMF thinks that the state could take it. And as you know, if we do introduce one temporary tax, it could be that they do it again. Or my last example of this is, anyone seen this nice game from the European Commission, Taxlandia? It's a game for kids where you can try to run a state. You can, in this game, you can make public spending and you can choose the tax level. And the more you spend and the higher taxes. When you raise taxes, also you get higher score in this game. So you train the young generation Europeans that it's good to spend more tax money and raise taxes. So, what more to say? I think I'll stop.